hides his age well because he has well over 20 plus years of experience in logistics, ranging in everything from traffic management to purchasing to warehouse management to research and development. Been very successful as the founder, owner, and president of his own company, Becker Logistics, out of Chicago. He currently sits on, I believe, the Executive Advisory Council in cloud software. And even though very much invested in our industry, has been a great contributor to TIA. The two most important things, once you get to know him, Jim Becker, that's important to him is his faith, his family, and we're proud to have him here today. So Jim, tell us what it took to build Becker.
Thank you very much. First off, I want to acknowledge each and every one of you for being here, because by you being not only at the TIA, but also about how important it is about people in our industry, in your companies, back at home. And why should we keep certain employees, and what should we look for new employees to help us grow? It's so important. Our company in Chicago, just to give you an idea, we have 2 offices right now, one in Glendale Heights, our corporate, where it started, and also one in Barrington, just north of that. And we're opening up Chicago in August. We're currently at 50 employees. We hired 9 people so far this year. We have 5 people that are starting in May, to give you an idea. Over the last 7 years, I finally figured out some things about how I had to remove myself from in front of me in order to take care of the company. I'm going to go over some of that. Mark hit the planning, Rich hit the development. I have the leadership aspect. So going into this, we asked the question, would you enthusiastically rehire everyone in your company? By a show of hands. And your bosses are not in the room, and if you are the boss, your employees aren't going to look at you and they're not going to know who you're talking about. Is there someone in your organization right now that should be removed from your company? Show of hands. The question is, why are they not gone? Yes? I ask myself this question every day, and when we do lose someone, HR does fire someone, I ask myself, who's the next person and why? The data that you collect, that your HR department collects, that your management team collects, it's very important because that makes you better. That makes you better as a leader, better as an organization, and your culture thrives. Your customers, your employees, and your carriers benefit from these decisions that you make each and every day. So topics that we're going to discuss is leadership styles. If you know your company's leadership style, that's fantastic. If you're not really sure, we're going to go over that. Recruiting, culture, and compensation. Out of those, the most important to me is culture. I needed to identify what my culture was. I needed to identify who I was as a leader. And how was I going to embed that and grow that and harvest that within my organization? Because if we didn't do that, if you don't do that, you're not going to have substantial growth. You're going to be flatlined. And we're not really sure why that's happening. But you have to identify that. We're going to go over all of these. Mistakes in leadership, and how do we correct them? It's okay to fail. Unfortunately, there's a lot of times that people don't want to look bad, or they're too busy trying to look good. This happens with our management team too, as well as our employees. What are the 5 worst types of employees? Have you identified those in your company? In the military, they have a deck of cards to identify who the top villains are in a little village, right? Can you identify who the top good employees are? And what names do you have for them? Instead of saying it's Darren or Bob or Brian. Or the same thing for the worst. So what are the 5 worst and what are the 5 best types of employees? Keys to get from here to there. If you don't identify the steps to get from here to there, nothing will ever change. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. If next year we talk about the same thing and I'm up here speaking and the same people raise their hands, that you still have that person at your company a year later and you haven't terminated them, then there's a problem. You have to ask yourself that question. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So these are questions that you have to ask yourself. So Daniel Goldman, a good takeaway for today's class is a book called Primal Leadership. And Daniel Goldman wrote this, and I read this in 2013. I went from reading a book a quarter to now reading a book a month, and I'm trying to get to a book a week. And it's all about sharpening the saw. You know, we graduate college thinking that we have these classes and this know-how. And it's funny, going to recruiting at colleges the last couple months, I get these students that say, I took this management class or this management section, and I want to be a manager at your company. And I just kind of chuckle, right? Even, we have to ask ourselves, why are we hiring a person for a manager? And what track are we going to put them on? What skills do they need? And do we just go ahead and tell someone, sir, you're going to be my manager now, and put you there and leave you alone and just take care of it, and I'll be over here for the next year? People quit companies because of leadership. And if I appoint someone in a leadership position and they do not have the skills, they're going to ruin what we've cultivated over the last couple of years. So looking at these, we have commanding. So sometimes we have managers that are just like a hammer and everything looks like a nail. There is a time and a place for commanding. It's when you're in a transformation mode in your company, or you have that employee that's not quite figuring it out. That's when you have to get commanding and saying, this is what I want you to do. If you have an area that has low profit margins and you have to go in there, you have to be that commanding force to change things, to transform it. I have 3 ways that I grow the company. I'm either growing it, I'm running it, or I'm transforming it. And sometimes they happen really, really quickly. So when you feel uncomfortable, you're transitioning into one of these new areas. Visionary. You have to be visionary. You have to paint the picture of where you want to go. And you have to instill that into your management team, your leadership team. Where are we going? And the employees need to know that. The lady that comes in after hours and on the weekend knows where we're going. And she's the janitor. But she sees that picture and she sees new desks coming in and things moving around. She needs to know that. Every single person needs to know where you're going in your company. Affiliative. You have to basically say, come on, let's go. You have to get people excited. You need enthusiasm. You need purpose. Your employees need to take initiatives. You need to take initiatives. You have